So WARDOGS had one weekend to prove that spending $40 on it was not a stupid decision. And the short version is, I'm keeping it. I had fun. I wanted to play more. And for me, that already makes it worth the price. But the game is not finished, gentlemen, and I wouldn't recommend it to everyone yet. Because the reason I like WARDOGS is also the reason some matches completely fall apart. The game lets everyone do almost anything. You can fight on the ground, drive vehicles, fly helicopters, build position, destroy them, transport people, revive them, or spend the whole match laying on a hill with a sniper rifle. That freedom creates some brilliant battles. It also creates rounds where everyone is busy with their tiny and nobody is playing the objective. Honestly, if you played King of the Hill in Arma, you already know what WARDOG is going for. 3 teams fight over one zone. You earn money, buy weapons and vehicles, and go back into the fight. So yes, at its core, WARDOGS is basically King of the Hill, but with building and destruction. And I mean that as a compliment. So the basic idea already works. WARDOGS simply gives players more ways to affect the fight. So you can build cover around the zone, destroy somebody else's position, bring in ground vehicles, and or support the push from a helicopter. When all of that meets at the objective, the game is at its best. It becomes one large combined arms fight where a wall, a vehicle, or a helicopter can completely change the next push. But that freedom also creates the game's biggest problem. Because if everyone can do whatever they want, somebody still has to get out of the helicopter, put down that sniper rifle and enter the zone. We will get to that. First, the gunplay. If fighting on foot only felt like something I had to do until I could afford a vehicle, the whole game would fall apart. Instead, I actually wanted to stay on the ground and take the next fight. I'm not going to describe every rifle as punchy or pretend that I can give you a complete weapon breakdown after one bedtime weekend. What matters is that the shooting never felt like filler. Most engagements also had a reason. I was trying to reach the zone, clear a position, protect a route, or give other players enough time to move. I didn't use every weapon or every class long enough to judge the full balance of the game. What I can say though is that infantry combat gives the rest of the game a solid base. And then, obviously, I bought another helicopter. The vehicles were the easiest part of WARDOGS to enjoy immediately, especially the little bird. I spent a professionally questionable amount of time flying it, but the important part, gentlemen, is that the helicopter doesn't feel separate from the battle below. It's arcadey enough to make you feel like you're a real one, and it's realistic enough that you still crash. That's amazing. The best moments happen when vehicles and infantry support each other, complement each other. A helicopter attacks a position, infantry uses that opening to move, and a ground vehicle arrives to keep the pressure on. You're not playing 3 separate games on the same server. You're taking part in one battle from different positions, different duties. And that's what I wanted from vehicles. Not just something fun to control, but something that matters to the wider match. The economy helps connect everything. Every player starts with $10,000. Each life, you build a loadout using weapons, equipment, and vehicles, while your remaining cash persists between matches. Team play pays well. Reviving squad mates, transporting people to the zone, and helping control the objective all earn money. That means you can make progress without chasing kills. Do anything, get paid anything. You decide whether to keep the next loadout cheap or spend more on something that could change the round. And support, gentlemen, support is not charity. Professionals must be compensated. Building and destruction add another choice. So you can fortify an approach or create cover where your team needs it. The other teams, they can then remove your carefully, beautifully planned military infrastructure with rockets, tanks, or artillery. WARDOGS, gentlemen, sells the idea that you can play and earn however you want. During the beta, that freedom didn't always produce the team the objective required. Scoring depends on putting enough players inside a control zone. But many of the most attractive roles can be played from somewhere else. Most of them were Bob the Builders, building, not moving, not taking, not engaging. A sniper can cover an approach, a builder can fortify a useful position, a pilot can transport players or support an attack. Every one of these roles can help. The problems, though, starts when too many players choose them at the same time. I saw matches with players spread across the hills, people building behind the front and others focused on aircraft, while very few were moving and roaming around the zone. There was activity everywhere, but not on the game objective. There's also when the map starts to feel empty. There's no revive happening. The pacing depends on whether the objective and the economy can pull enough people towards the same fight. In some rounds they just didn't. I'm not convinced that hard role limits are the right answer. I don't want to spend an evening looking at a message saying the pilot role is full, but the game may need stronger objective rewards. I mean, I don't know the exact solution, of course. What I do know is that hoping 100 strangers naturally create the right team composition is not a balanced system. There is one more part of the $40 question. How replayable is WARDOGS once the first weekend and the initial excitement are over? No more honeymoon. Arma King of the Hill kept players coming back with XP, equipment and vehicle unlocks, money, fights. WARDOGS already has some of that. The zone location changes between matches, cash carries over, and player build positions make familiar areas play different. Okay. During the beta, that was enough to make me want another round. What one weekend cannot prove is whether the same loop will still be interesting after 50 or 100 hours. The developers are planning deeper progression. A seasonal metagame, more maps, weapons, vehicles, yada yada yada. That everything sounds promising. But those are plans for the future. When will the future be? So my answer is split. The match-to-match replayability is already there. The long-term replayability is not proven yet and has to be proven. And for a $40 early access game, that distinction really matters. So did this weekend prove that WARDOGS is worth $40? Yes, absolutely yes. WARDOGS currently costs $39.99 and enters early access on September 10th. The developers expect early access to last around 1 or 2 years. They also said that balance, pacing, progression, performance, and stability will continue to change. So you need to know what you're buying. This is not a finished competitive shooter and won't ever be. If that's what you want, wait a second. But if you like the Arma King of the Hill formula, want a large combined ARM sandbox, and are comfortable with actual early access, I think the beta showed more than enough. What this weekend proved is simple. I want to return. I paid $40. I had fun. I wanna fly.